Top of the morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market preparation video for September 18th, 2018. So, hey everyone, we finally got past this looming threat of tariffs. And this morning, the markets are responding bullishly to that news. Now that's just proof to me that markets just hate uncertainty. It's one of those things where that uncertainty, how do we respond to uncertainty? We don't know what to do, but once the unknown is known, we can finally react and the markets can deal with that. And so having that tariff be announced, getting past the threat, getting past the unknown, now the market is free to react and move. And this morning we're seeing that bullish reaction to seeing that bullish reaction to that news. Markets around the world last night, Asian markets all higher, European markets currently all higher in response to that news, just kind of unloading that pressure of the unknown. So this morning we're looking at the Dow trying to push up here this morning, recovering more than half or about half of yesterday's losses in the Dow with a very bullish move, gap up open this morning. One thing we want to do though is we want to be a little bit careful chasing into that gap up open, and just keep in mind sellers could be up there to push that back down. So we don't want to get ourselves caught into a pop and drop type situation intraday. We want to make sure those buyers are actually going to come in and follow through and support that morning gap with some real buying going on. You know, I'm commonly talking about this, that the lowest risk entry into any long trade is the pullback or the consolidation to test or hold a support level. So that morning push up that may gap us up well beyond, if we wait just a little while, wait for that rest or that pullback in the market, we can usually catch that lower risk entry where our stop loss is very close here in the trade. We wait for that price support to be tested, watch for those buyers to step in and catch that lower risk entry. You see, if we chase the gap, we're going to have a lot more risk in the trade. So just waiting for that little bit of time to pass, waiting for that proof, the buyers are going to step in. Now, we don't actually have to have a pullback. We can get that gap up and we can have a consolidation and then still move higher from there. And that's just as good. That gives us a low risk entry point where we can place our stop in that trade rather than jumping in, chasing in, and having this massive risk between the open and low here, where we can get that pop and drop pattern and pull back and cause us problems. So we want to watch that closely and just be careful not to get caught up and chase into a gap like this. So right now bulls are pushing up here, and let's keep in mind that we are still bullish in this chart. We've held up really well, holding this trend, also holding this March high here and looking really good. So we have quite a distance here before we actually break out to new record highs on the Dow, but holding this trend right now is very positive and bullish. Let's take a look to the SPY. SPY also doing well, holding this trend very well, hanging in there. And remember, this line right here is the breakout high for all-time new highs here recently, and we're holding above that. So this pullback yesterday, certainly troubling yesterday afternoon, but now we're getting that gap up open. Not recovering quite half of that candle yesterday, but we'll have to watch that closely and see how that plays out as the morning moves on, and see how buyers really, if they step in and support this gap, or if we find some sellers up there to push it back down. So watch that closely. Let's take a look at the Qs. Now the Qs, I think, is in the most precarious position. First off, we have a situation where the Qs broke this trend. Okay, broke that trend. We tested it as a resistance, as a matter of fact, and we've placed a higher low in the index. And we also broke down below this key support level, that breakout high. So now we are in this kind of precarious position this morning on the NASDAQ because we don't want to see a downtrend come into play. If this occurs and we make a lower low, we now are officially in a downtrend in the NASDAQ, not something we want to see. And this morning, if we take a look at the futures are not responding as strongly here in the NASDAQ as they are in the diamonds and the SPY. So watch that closely. We're getting just a very muted bounce this morning in the NASDAQ. If they happen to find some sellers after that gap up open, this could easily slip below this level of support. And we are then officially in a downtrend here on the Qs. We're going to have to watch this, I think, over the next several days. If we do hold this support, we could certainly see those buyers pick that up in here and bring us back above that key level to move us on up. And remember, a higher low right in here actually creates what we call a price wedge. And you never know exactly how a price wedge is going to resolve until it actually resolves, whether it'll break out, hold that as support and go higher, or if it breaks down, holds that as resistance and goes lower. So watch that closely. Let's take a look at IWM. IWM broke below key support level yesterday, but let's keep in mind IWM really has less risk to tariffs than any of the indexes because most of the small caps are domestic companies. However, we did break down, and what we need to see is we need to see that pop right back above. And because it sliced through here toward the end of the day yesterday, you can see our futures are currently putting that right back up here, trying to pop back above on the morning gap. So if we can get right back above that key support and then hold in here, we're just continuing to build this level of consolidation that could prove very bullish if we can pop on out. So watch that closely. Let's take a look at the VIX. The VIX, if you remember me saying yesterday, we didn't want to see fear really creep in here and bounce off of this level. Well, that's really what happened. We had that tariff fear. We bounced off of this level. We'll have to watch that closely. But I suspect today with the morning gap up, we're going to see some of that fear subside and pull that back, maybe back down here toward that level of support in the Qs. If we happen to see a pop and drop pattern where we pop up in the gap up open, sellers come in and push this back down, we could actually see that fear kick up. So let's watch this pretty closely. We don't want to see that fear kick up. We want to see those bulls pushing in here, looking really good. And I believe right now they're showing enough strength that we'll see that fear subside. So just kind of keep an eye on that as the day goes on. Let's look at T21 22, the 4-week new high new low ratio. If we take a look at that 4-week new high new low ratio, I like to plot that on just a simple line chart, and you can see here once again we're not getting much for clues here, only that we have plenty of room for an upside move and plenty of room for a downside move. This is right here at the 50% area of this, so we've got plenty of room. So if the bulls do take a hold, we can really move higher. Obviously, we still have plenty of room to the downside if those bears were to take over, but that's not looking like the case this morning. So we've got room to move. That's what we want to see in T21 22. And so hopefully we can get a direction started now once this tariff threat is kind of out of our way and out of our hair, and we can start focusing on the market a little bit clearer. So let's take a quick look. What's on the economic calendar today? We've got a couple things on the economic calendar and maybe a little concern here in the economic calendar. Housing market index comes out at 10 o'clock today, and the housing market index is coming in with a number, at least the consensus is saying that number could be quite weak, and they're blaming lack of labor and high construction costs on this, but the housing market index is looking at coming in at its lowest reading in a year. So watch that closely today. We could see a little reaction to that news if that comes out as a surprise and goes even lower. We could get a reaction to that, so watch that. We've got Red Book and a 4-week bill auction, and then Treasury International Capital at 4. Of course, that is not forecast forward, so hard to know what might happen with that. On the earnings front, yesterday we had a couple really nasty earnings reports. FedEx gapping down sharply this morning as a result of their earnings, and Oracle, that reported after the bell, missed on earnings and is gapping down sharply this morning. So those could affect the market just a little bit. And today we have reports out of AZO. AZO, you can see AZO is apparently missed, and we're gapping down substantially here on AZO this morning. And then GIS, General Mills, also apparently missing on earnings this morning, gapping down. So we're getting some kind of negative reactions here in our earnings reports. And even though the market is just showing remarkable bullishness as we push up into the open, it gives me a little bit of pause, and also makes me think, well, maybe we ought to be a little bit careful not to chase this gap up open in case we do actually run into sellers this morning after the open. So watch that closely. Earnings not giving us that good, warm, and fuzzy this morning that we would like to see in the market. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. And if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you find these helpful, please do me a favor. Click that subscribe button on YouTube and the follow me button on Facebook. Click those thumbs up buttons. I really do appreciate that, guys. And it helps show these videos to more folks. As you know, I place no ads on these videos. I have no intention of making money from this information. I just truly want to help others with their trading by doing a better job of preparing for the day. So if you find this helpful, please subscribe, do those things, drop a comment, and also always feel free to share this with any friends and family if you think they will find this helpful. Everyone, take care. Have an awesome, awesome day. I wish you all great success. We'll talk to you all bright and early on Wednesday morning. Take care, everyone.